Welcome into the Hustle Show podcast. College football is here. Drew Martin, Kelly Stewart, Adam Trigger, Chris Thurston breaking it down here, guys, for week one college football on the Wager Talk YouTube channel. And we are brought to you by Viva Tequila Seltzer, vivatequilaseltzer.com. Refreshing and drinkable hard seltzer, 88 calories, 0 carbs, 0 sugar, 4.5% ABV. Perfect drink for cashing those tickets. Thanks for joining us. Going around the horn here, Kelly Stewart at Kelly in Vegas on Twitter. Kelly, welcome in. How you feeling?
It's 37 seconds into the show, and I'm already about to send Trig a nasty message about moving around too much without being muted. So life is really good, I would say. I didn't get hit by a hurricane this week. Coco in Vegas is sleeping peacefully over there, and it's 7 o'clock on the East Coast, and I'm ready to go to bed. That's how old I am.
Okay, that works, Kelly.
Except we got football to watch.
Yes.
Right after the show, I'm going over to the neighbor's house, and no, I'm not consuming alcohol. Whoever that was arguing with me on Twitter, come on. I can go 30 days.
You can go 30 days. And Trig, moving around a couple papers below the microphone. But, hey, it's all right, man. That's a pretty sweet shirt you got on. Welcome on in.
Thanks, Drew. I wore this for Kelly. This is her favorite article of clothing that I own. I had the privilege of doing bet on it during college basketball season, and I showed up wearing this. Apparently, I didn't get the memo that you're supposed to. It's like a black tie affair on that show, so you're supposed to be like well dressed. And I rolled in with the UConn jacket, and she said change, and I said this is all I've got. I was doing shows down at the factory that my fiance's parents own. Before we moved into our house. So I did bet on it with the jacket, and I said, you know what, it's going to be fine because UConn's going to end up winning it all anyway. We're going to look back on it and say, there he is in the national champs jacket. Sure enough, 30-1 gave that out in February for college basketball. And I just wore it tonight because UConn's playing tonight. The house that CT Betts built, the rent, I guess is like almost sold out. I'm hearing that it's almost sold out. And I'm going to tell you why they're going to get smashed in my big game breakdown. But I had it in my closet. I had to wear the UConn zip up tonight. College football's back. Looking forward to it. Can't wait.
Tonight, and maybe the dogs are barking. We already got it going here on the Hustle. And the house that CT built, I see why he did that, a little roundabout way in the state of Connecticut. Last, certainly not least, guys, that's CT Bet 16 on Twitter. Chris Thurston, welcome on in, buddy.
Drew, good to be here. I was doing really well until about 10 minutes ago. My dog, Blue, decided to take a shit in my office. So I spent the last 10, 15 minutes cleaning that up. It's been an utter nightmare. I was trying to get my TVs set up for the games because I knew I was doing this show, followed by a couple radio spots and then Sports TV tonight. And she started shitting right next to me when I was fixing CT Sportsbook. I got Horse outside right now with Amanda. They're taking stuff from the shed into Horse's truck. It's a lot, but it's good. Football's here, Drew. It's good to be here with the crew. It's week one. I'm excited.
I can't stop laughing. I'm sorry that happened to you, CT. Oh, God. See, life is way better than CT's house right now. If Coco shit right on my floor, I would be furious.
Stepped right into it. Yep. Stepped right in.
Wait, what? You didn't
awesome.
say you stepped in it.
Yep, my shoes are outside, hosed them off. It's been a nice start. My good luck shoes, I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. Yeah.
First bad beat of the season for CT right there.
Yeah.
That's
a
bad
Joe Ranieri is going to have to clip that one. That one's going on the Instagram channel.
CT. I mean, my first thought is when that happens, it's usually three things from owning a dog. It's one, it's like on me, like I didn't walk the dog, or it's two, like the dog's sick, or it's three, the dog is like, doing something bad. Like which three would you?
It was two. Unfortunately, she hasn't been feeling well, and it sucks because I was just outside with her like for 30 minutes before I brought her in, and that happened. So I can't get mad at her. She hasn't been doing well, and she's been constantly going to the bathroom. So Kel knows how that is with pit bulls, with the Old English bulldogs. So hopefully she feels better and watches the games with me tonight, Drew.
Yeah, fair enough, CT. Hey, let's come right back to you, man. We got games coming up. A cash and a ticket, that will make you feel a whole lot better. I just saw just now it popped up, man. Little Utes action for tonight's slate. So you got some games going tonight. What are you looking to do here? In really a game that I'm excited about. Is that your best bet or is that your big game breakdown?
No, it's actually neither. I have no
Okay.
problem talking about it. I was going to give 2 other games just because I tweeted this one out, but I was kind of happy when the news finally broke, last night that Rising was out, because I knew I would get a better number with Utah. Kind of my angle here, Drew, is Kyle Whittingham. He still has nightmares about that game last year. We all remember it. Florida wins the game on the last play. Barnes is going to be the guy that takes the majority of the snaps tonight, from what I'm hearing. We might see a little bit of the redshirt freshman a little bit. But Barnes is, he's capable here of being the guy for tonight. And he's really athletic enough to beat this Gators team. Last year, Drew, I don't know if you remember Florida's bowl game, but I do because I was at it. Florida played Oregon State, and actually AC money to the game. It was out in Vegas. And Florida got absolutely annihilated. I think it was 30-3. So from that team that just got absolutely blasted, who was terrible last year, Drew, Gators bring back 3 on offense, 4 on defense. Graham Mertz is the trigger man. Graham Mertz. That's enough said. Graham Mertz is not a winner, and he's not going to be a winner as a Gator. I hear this is the best offensive line Utah has had in years. They can run the ball well. Might see a little trickery here. I'm taking the Utes to get revenge. Still win by double digits without Rising.
Good breakdown,
Can
man.
I chime in?
Yeah.
Sorry. Just because this is the marquee game tonight, if you will. I mean, the FCS schools and stuff are not going on. So this was a conversation that Trig and I had earlier. I'm not getting involved in this game, but just for talking purposes, play devil's advocate. CT, this is my problem with the Utes, right? We know they took sharp money, but guys like Brad Powers bet Florida plus 10 at circa in June, right? So that number's been gone. It was pretty much 7.5. Our good friend Kenny White told us Cam Rising was worth as high as 5 points. But what Trig and I were talking about earlier with Mark Zeno in regards to Graham Mertz, I would agree with you. What we saw from him at Wisconsin was absolutely disgusting. But we have to also take a step back here and say this is a completely different offense with Billy Napier versus Paul Chryst. I mean, do you take that into consideration whatsoever when thinking that, Graham Mertz is just not a winner?
I think Graham Mertz transferred to the wrong school. Graham Mertz is not an SEC quarterback. He's not athletic at all, and I don't think Billy Napier is going to transform him into a good trigger man in 4 months. And to your point on Kenny, yeah, he makes it 5 points. Kenny still has Utah winning this game by double digits with or without Cam Rising. And I agree.
Yeah, it's always a tough handicap doing it, new quarterback coming in and kind of filling in for a guy that went top 5 in the draft. Now, he didn't play like a top 5, NFL draftee last year, but still the athleticism, it becomes a little bit of a difficult handicap. I mean, Kelly, you brought it up as part of the marquee game here. I mean, I can't wait to watch this one. Last year's game was, I think you can make the argument it was the best game of the football season last year.
Yeah, I'm going to go watch it with some Gator fans who went to the game last year. Excited, for them just to see what kind of game this comes to fruition. I will say this, and maybe Trig has an opinion. I think 44 has gotten a little too low. At this point, I think the only way I could look at this one would be the over. I think that this is going to be more of I wouldn't call it a shootout, if you will, but I do think we're going to see a little bit more offensive prowess than what the current line is stating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'll just follow that up by saying that definitely feels low for a total. I don't have a real opinion on the total, but I would agree that the number is low. I agree with CT. I think Mertz is trash. I think Florida is not going to be very good this year, just in general. Now, could Mertz theoretically play better in a new system? Yes, but I think what I was telling you off air, Kelly, is I think Florida, the fact that they couldn't find someone better than Graham Mertz is sort of embarrassing for a program of that caliber. And yeah, so I'm not high on Florida at all. I was at Rice Eccles Stadium last weekend. You saw me. I was locked out, Kelly. I was in the parking lot trying to get in. All the doors were locked. But I used to go to games there about 10, 15 years ago. One of my really good friends lived out in Salt Lake. That's an awesome place to see a game, especially at night. That needs to be factored in. And I just think Utah, I lean toward Utah. I kind of agree with CT. I think they've probably known they were going to be without Rising all summer. So, not something I was going to bet. I didn't want to bet into like a lot of the sharp players that played Florida at 7 and then again at 6.5. And then, of course, the ones that, people got out early, but there was pretty good action at 7, 6.5 all the way to drive that down. But my handicap says Utah. So it'll be a fun one to watch. No action for me in this one, but be looking forward to watching it.
They absolutely knew all summer that they were going to be out without Rising. I mean, ACL injury is like a 9-11 month injury. Like it's insane to expect him back this week. Whittingham knew all summer long and prepared all summer long, knowing that Rising wasn't going to be under center tonight.
Which I think it makes it a little bit easier for him. You're right, CT Bets. I'm with you there, man. Guys, if you're looking at the Wager Talk Live odds screen, there's some big moves on these totals tonight. I mean, we saw Kent State, Central Florida get steamed down like 3 or 4 points. We've seen NC State, UConn take some late over money. We talked about the total Florida, Utah, and then Nebraska, Minnesota. That one hasn't moved much of recent, but it did take under money coming into today. So big moves here, Kelly. Are you involved in any totals tonight?
No totals. Like I said, I can only look one way in that Florida game. I think it's moved a little too far. But just out of curiosity, you think that Kent State UCF had anything to do with the hurricane and maybe a little overreacting? Because I just saw somebody tweeted earlier, the weather in Orlando is beautiful.
Yeah, I know. That's what gets me thinking. I really think it has to do with Kent State. I don't think people think Kent State can score. I mean, they lost all of their starters last year. That's what I think it has to do with.
I know about 2 MAC teams, and that's there's 2 of them that I follow, and that's about it. Because there's only 2 that actually can hang with other Power 5 schools.
Kent State could be one of the worst teams in FBS this year. Now, I talked about it on Wager Talk today that I thought 37 was a good number, got bet down to 35. I mean, that's a tough, you have to sit there and grind out Kent State plus 37. I said yesterday that I like the over. I still think Kent State could bust a play or two. UCF gave up a lot of big plays last year. And if you're talking about the total, Central Florida could get it on their own, I suppose. I mean, Kent State they're like potentially 1-11, 2-10 type territory this year, probably, if that. I think CT, what was their season win total? Was it like 2.5?
It was 2.5 or 3.
Yeah, 2.5 or 3 sounds about right.
I mean, they already scored. It's 7-0 Central Florida. You know who the trigger man is? For Central Florida?
John Rice Plumlee?
Right. I'm thinking South Florida is Gary Bohannon from the transfer from Baylor. But yeah, John Rice Plumlee is Central Florida. So yeah.
South Florida took some sharp action, like quite a bit of it. That got bet down. They're a sharp side for this weekend.
What else you got, Trig? What are you looking to do? Big game breakdown.
So I kind of forgot that we were going on and these games are going to be starting as we were on the show. So I think we've got 15 minutes, right, till the UConn game, because I was going to talk about the UConn NC State game. So I suppose we'll go there for big game breakdown, assuming it hasn't kicked off yet, which I don't think it has. I obviously came decked out in my UConn jacket. Someone that follows me on Twitter that watches a lot of our shows said that they're close to a sellout and they're expecting the biggest crowd there in close to a decade, which is great. But I like NC State. I think NC State's going to be pretty good this year. I think, last year they were sort of hot right out of the gate. And then Devin Leary goes down. The offense turns into nothing basically without him. And they it just like derailed their season to the point where they kind of just went away after that. I was at the game that Leary got ruled out at Syracuse. They backup could do absolutely nothing. And then the rest of the year, they just kind of like fizzled out. So I think that they could be a little bit undervalued coming into this year. They actually have Cuse's offensive coordinator was Robert Anae. He was only there for 1 year last year, and he turned around Syracuse's offense to an extent. Obviously, Cuse played a lot better last year than people thought they were. But before that, he was at Virginia, coaching Brennan Armstrong, who's now going to be his quarterback at NC State. So I think NC State could, potentially be pretty good offensively, maybe better than people think. And of course, their defense last year was great. Even when they couldn't move the ball, their defense kept them in quite a few games. And I think they're going to be pretty solid defensively this year. So I guess my whole thing here, and the reason why I would lean laying the points with NC State, if this game happened a year ago, NC State would have been laying 21 on the road in this game. Somehow Jim Mora, maybe more impressive than Georgia winning the national title last year, is Jim Mora going 6-6 and getting UConn to a bowl game. But now they come into this year, and now they're only laying 14 or 14 and a half or 15 or whatever it is now. So I like NC State. I would lay the points. I would try to get if 14's gone, maybe try to get 14 and a half. This feels like a game where NC State pulls away at some point. I think the number's a little bit low. So NC State Wolfpack, lay the points for my big game breakdown.
Kelly, did you want to talk any games before we get to best bets?
I don't have anything for tonight, personally. Tomorrow night, I am tailing, speaking of not knowing anything about MAC schools, Joe Ranieri gave out Miami of Ohio against Miami, 17 and a half. So I will be tailing him for tomorrow night. Let me double check. There's nothing else that I am playing for Friday night. And then when we get the opportunity, nope, nothing else for Friday night. Leaned Georgia Tech when it was 8.5, now 7.5. I think we're going to start seeing 7s pop up. I was late to the party there. They were on my very long list. And then everything else for me is Saturday and Sunday.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, the Saturday card is huge. We got 4 here Thursday night, 4 on Friday. So the battle for Miami, Kelly, there's 2 trends that I think actually matter in that one. One is Cristobal. I didn't realize he's on a 7-21 ATS skid. He has been burning money. How did he get the Miami job? Because that dates back to his job before that.
You know how he got the Miami job. But that being said, he's just not great
really
against
don't.
the number. He's fun.
Yeah.
He didn't cover against an FBS school last year, I don't think. I don't think they covered a single game against an FBS school, Miami.
No, it was they've just been burning money. He burned money at Oregon. Listen, this is not going to be one of those things. I joked on Bet on it that when Joe Ranieri broke down the game, because he said Miami's not back until they can prove that they're back. I said Miami is the Texas of Florida. Every year there is just this over amount of hype with this team, right? There's like 4 or 5 teams every single year. And every single year, we just laugh about them. And Miami's one of those teams. Not to mention, there's a great little scheduling spot here, which Ralph did debunk on TNA, but I don't care. There's no way Miami's excited about playing Miami of Ohio when they have Texas A&M, who absolutely smoked their asses last year.
I agree with you, Kelly. But hey, I got to bring up something I saw on the Wager Talk Instagram, guys. You should check it out if you got Instagram. Follow Wager Talk, and you broke it down, Kelly. I don't know if it was you or somebody else at Wager Talk. The MAC conference since 2015 is 7-18 against the spread, 28% in week 1. I think there's something to that. I bet against the MAC in week 0 with San Diego State. That's what makes me worry about the Ohio Miami in this one. Those 2 trends, I wanted to just bring them up to you.
I took a MAC school in my parlay with Trig. I'll let him talk on that one if he'd like to. We spoke about that one quite a bit. And I considered taking University of Northern Illinois as well. I do think they keep it close with Boston College. But here's my problem. Asking some of these schools to go and get an outright win on the road, that's where the MAC, I do think we're going to see some regression more towards the mean where they will start to cover, but I do think that's where the cream rises to the top, right? These Power 5 schools are going to be able to get the win, and that's my main concern about taking some of them on the money line. Like, you got to have – it's like this. You got to cover first, and then you got to win. And as Ralph's chart showed, they're not even covering.
Yeah, no, good point, Kelly. I mean, it's the caliber of athlete with the MAC. It takes a drop off, and week 1, maybe you're not really catching teams off guard because, they are coming into week 1. But again, hey, maybe they are looking ahead, talking about the Miami Hurricanes. Guys, we got best bets. Does anybody else want to throw anything out before we get to best bets?
Well, just on that topic, you know what you should do with a trend once it starts to make its way around Twitter and start to get steam? You should just fade it. The reason being because that starts to get baked into the line. And like Kelly said, like now that all I'm hearing is MAC teams are just going to get trashed in week one. By the way, Miami, Ohio is a 4% play for me. I gave that out like a month ago. I think I had 17 and a half as well.
I didn't know that.
That's okay.
I did
That's
not
okay,
give out your
Kel.
4%
I know your inbox is full. You probably missed that one. It's all right. But no, Miami of Ohio,
I think about a year and a half ago.
I know. You did. You told me you needed to purge your inbox and that you couldn't deal with my emails anymore. I know. But no, they're gonna. If you keep moving the needle on some of these things, it's like we're still playing against the spread, playing against the -110. At some point, you're probably going to see it. Like I even said, Kent State at 37. I mean, that was a good number. Now I don't know if it ends up being a good bet, but you're going to start getting good numbers on those types of games, and at some point, the good numbers are going to turn into wins. It's just how it works. So I'd be weary of just like going and laying a bunch of points against MAC schools this weekend because it's happened in the past.
Drew, I got one more real quick that I'll give out before we get the best bets. And actually, this is probably one that's like right up your alley. I bet this last night, day at Houston, the Roadrunners, right? And there's a lot to like about Jeff Traylor's team, right? The biggest one being they get Frank Harris back. I think he's in his 7th year somehow, and he's back under center there. And Drew, I'm a Big 12 guy, right? So now Houston, they finally get into the Big 12. Probably saves Dana Holgerson's job, to be honest with you. He hasn't done much at Houston, but I think he's getting a little disrespected in this game. And I know they need to replace the 4-year starter Clayton Tune, who's now in the NFL. But they get the transfer Donovan Smith from Texas Tech. So, but if he's a little gun shy, which he probably will be, he wasn't great at Tech, but Houston could really run the ball, and I think they're going to be dominant in doing so. They have a few talented backs here. This line opened up as Houston as the favorite. It's since flipped to the Roadrunners as the favorite here. I disagree with the move here. I'm on Houston here getting the points. I actually don't even think you're going to need the points. I make Houston a 2.5 point favorite. So I think you're getting a really good deal here, catching points with Dana at home. As this is his first game in a Power 5 conference, not playing a team in a Power 5 conference, but he wants to come out and make a statement here for Houston. This is a big deal for Houston. They were trying to get into a Power 5 conference for a really long time, Drew. So that's one I wanted to give out. That's on my card, and wanted your thoughts on that, Drew. That's always right up your alley, that game. Games
yeah,
like that.
I mean, yeah, and you bring up the quarterback situation. Just Clayton Tune, I remember he was pretty good. People make fun of
4-year starter.
And people make fun of like that kind of quarterback room because Clayton Tune, actually might be taking snaps. But I almost want to bring up actually, guys, he was pretty good in college. I wouldn't be totally shocked if he becomes a serviceable backup quarterback in the NFL and makes a career out of this. I don't know, but I know it's a lot of people are jumping on him for not being that good. I guess that would be one thing that worries me, filling those shoes.
Well, one thing is he might end up being a starting quarterback because he's on the Cardinals, and he looks like
I know
the 1 or 2 guy there. But this kid Donovan Smith, the transfer from Texas Tech, he could get the job done, and I just don't think UTSA should be favored in this game, Drew. So I'm on the Cougs here.
Yeah, I like it.
And Chris,
hey, the one, yeah.
That I don't know if you can see it, but it's tough to see there. Go look up what the jerseys they're going to wear for this game. You should add another point to the number for that because they're fucking awesome. They look like the Oilers jerseys, the old Oilers jerseys.
Strig, you're that guy right now. Now it's like the Oregon Ducks look good, play good theory. Is that what we're doing?
Yeah, but Oregon always throws the different jerseys out. Kel, this was out of left field. Didn't expect this from Houston. They come with the Oilers. That's one of my all-time. I always used to love that jersey, the light blue, the red. Very unique, and Houston just brings it back. So give CT an extra point. Give him an extra point.
I get extra credit for that. Look at me.
Yeah.
I like that. Boise State wearing blue on the blue turf. That did matter,
Smurf turf.
All right, guys, we got best bets. And a reminder, we are brought to you by Viva Tequila Seltzer. Viva Tequila Seltzer. Flavored our tequila seltzer because flavor is the spice of life, and we like to drink with a kick, just as we like to live our lives. Our flavors pair perfectly with our artisanal Blanco tequila for a subtle and refreshing drink. Check them out, vivatequilaseltzer.com. That's vivatequilaseltzer.com. Use the promo code Hustle20 at checkout. It takes 20% off your order. Get them shipped to you, as you can see behind me. I got them shipped to me. Best drink out there. My favorite drink for real, guys. Zero sugar. Don't get much of a hangover at all. So, guys, we got best bets coming up. I'll start us off here. Colorado TCU, 63.5. Deion Sanders, Coach Prime coming in. Lot of opinions sidewise. Is it going to be good? It seems like I'm even hearing more opinions like they're going to be bad. But either way, I don't know. Sidewise, it's a very difficult handicap. And speaking of difficult handicaps, TCU themselves, national championship last season in the game. Got blown out, but still making it there. Very successful. Sonny Dykes coming back. And now what? Their season win total 7.5. That's a difficult handicap in themselves. Like dropping off that much, I don't think so. I think they'll be all right. They're the quarterback that is returning technically from week 1. They're returning their starting quarterback. I know Max Duggan is in the NFL, but really got beat out week 1, if you remember right. And Sonny Dykes coached offense. What I'm getting at here is I think they're going to be able to score against the Buffs defense. And looking at the other side of things, talking about Coach Prime coming in, yes, caliber of athlete's going to be better. Can't be much worse. They were the worst Power 5 team in college football last season, getting blown out by pretty much everyone. But the thing is, I think his best decision he's made here is his offensive coordinator, Sean Lewis. He was the quarterback. He was the he was the head coach, actually, and calling the plays for Kent State last year. And they had one of the fastest tempo offenses in the country, only 20 seconds in between each snap. So I think Colorado is going to go faster than what a lot of people think out there. And to see a very manageable total, 63.5 in TCU, Colorado at TCU, 63.5. I like it up and over. That's early on Saturday, guys. Early, 9 a.m. Pacific kick. Over Colorado TCU. That's my best bet. And speaking of uniforms here, UCF and Kent State has just kicked off. UCF's up to a 14-0 advantage early in the bounce house. But what I'm getting at is pretty good uniforms for both, in my opinion. Kent State going with the old San Diego Chargers look. I think that's pretty cool. UCF tends to always have good uniforms. But somebody right close to Orlando there, Kelly Stewart, at Kelly in Vegas on Twitter, going around the horn here. Best bets if you got one, Kelly. Final thoughts for the show?
Yeah, I got to give out North Texas. I think that's pretty much where I decided is going to be my best bet. It's tough narrowing it down to one. I'll be honest with you guys. There's quite a few games I actually like a lot this week. I think I'm going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 on my card. I've already played 5 of them, waiting to see a couple others. And see if we see some line movements come in our favor. But I like this North Texas team. Basically, a lot of guys are returning from Seth Luttrell. Didn't have too many guys transfer away. But Eric Morris is the new head coach. Last season, he was with Wazoo. So he should know this Cal Golden Bears team. And CT knows. I texted him, I think, on like Tuesday. I was like, fuck me. This is going to suck. Because what happened last week? We drafted okay, so you have to draft in our college football pool, right? And so we drafted like Washington, Penn State. We had the 11th pick. So like we had some really good ones that we felt good about. But then you're in the end and you're just like playing in the mud. Like, can this team win 4, maybe 5 games? And we just kind of had to settle on a couple of teams. But we settled on Cal and New Mexico State for our last 2 picks. And now I think we're going to start off the season 0-2 because I think North Texas is going to win this one. Cal is just not a great team. 2-9 in their last 11 one-score games. That's over like the last 3 years. Last year, they gave up 35 points per game. It's going to be over 100 degrees. If you guys remember last week, that same game, we were just talking about that New Mexico game. Everybody's talking about how freaking hot it was and how hot it was with the UTEP game. It's going to be miserable. I know North Texas isn't known for their defense, but Sam Jackson, the 5th, transfer coming into Cal. I think you can put some pressure on this kid, and he's going to make mistakes. I expect Well, an outright winner from North Texas. So I did take the 7.5. We'll go with that as my best bet and sprinkle plus 210 on the money line.
The Mean Green at Kelly in Vegas on Twitter. Kelly Stewart. Check her out, guys. Wagertalk.com. Bet on it on the YouTube channel as well. John Murray and KAV got the podcast going as well. We got Adam Trigger here at Top Flight SI on Twitter. Wagertalk.com. Trig, hey man, I'm going to the game on Sunday night, Florida State and LSU. What do you think about that one? And what do you got for best bets?
I think it's going to be a great game. I think I lean toward LSU. I think LSU could be really good this year. I'm not totally buying in on Florida State. And if that gets bet further, I don't know where it is right now, but I saw it was, obviously it was 3, then it was 2.5. I thought I saw some 2s pop up. If that gets driven down, I might be willing to come in with LSU, especially if it gets low enough where I could money line LSU and at like a reasonable price. I don't know if it would get to 1.5 or 2, and you can come in and take LSU like minus 130. That I like quite a bit. That would be pretty, I think that would be a good bet as far as that game is concerned. I just think LSU is potentially really good this year.
Like a little side note, like I know you're good at this. Any quick ticket handicap?
I haven't seen. So I thought last time I checked that one, there was like decent two-way action. There's no question that like Florida State at 3 definitely probably took a little bit of sharp money at the number. I haven't seen like I don't. I could. Does it, Chris? Are you looking at the screen right now for you?
Yeah. LSU's taking
works at Wager Talk. Doesn't have the Wager Talk odds screen open. Shocker.
Yeah, it looks like LSU's taking some money. It's down, but it's weird though. I'm seeing the screen just pop to 2, so that's interesting. I think that's very. I mean, so down. It did hit 3 for a little bit. Now that was 2.5 forever, and now it's 2. I'm with you, and I think Kelly thinks the same way. I'm not high on Florida State at all. I'm Mike Norvell. I have not bet this game at all, but I absolutely lean LSU.
I can tell you this from the Kelly and Murray show. John Murray said they are going to need the under big time. I don't know if I got the guts to bet that under, but that's what the sports books need. Listen, I like LSU. I'm not going to play them in this spot, but I think, they've definitely been preparing for this game. And the wise one, Dave Koken, I remember last year he did tweet about after they lost this game. They were up like, I think Florida State was up like 24-10, something like that. And they ended up losing on like a missed PAT or something crazy happened there at the end. That's the point. Listen, Brian Kelly is one of the best college football coaches out there. We know this. I think he's going to have his squad ready. Now this will be his 2nd year. Not fully his own team, but people have transferred away now. He's got a stud quarterback. The Jordan Travis hype, I'm kind of like, I can kind of see it. I think it's a little much. I think there's too many. I think this is like, what do we, CT, I'm trying to think of what we called it. When it's like you think you're too sharp by taking Florida State plus 2.5.
Right.
You know what I mean?
That's a too sharp play. Yeah.
That's exactly what Trigger and I got.
Like that's what this reminds me of. Like you think you're so sharp, you're going to take 2.5. I'm not saying I'm betting it, and I'll probably end up on the under because it's just going to keep getting bet up all week. Currently on the Wager Talk odds screen, 50 open 55.5, 56.5, couple of 56s. We'll see how this one ends up playing out, but I could see this being 31-10 LSU, and I wouldn't be surprised in the slightest.
It's going to be great atmosphere, I think. I'm really excited to get to one. We talked about it, Kelly, like a singled out game. Hey, but CT, you might know something about this. When you go to a game with friends, it's going to be all Florida State guys. Like one of my friends is a childhood friend, is a booster there. He got tickets. Like, one of those atmospheres where I'm going to be with that type of guy. Can I really bet LSU and like sit there and wear a Florida State shirt and go against them all?
You bet what you think's going to cash the ticket, Drew. I have no problem being with a ton of people and having the other side. As long as I'm cashing the ticket at the end of the night, that's all that freaking matters.
I agree,
Money is all that matters, Drew. That's it. Nothing else matters.
110%. 110%. But, Drew, is the ticket free from the booster guy?
I'm going to offer to pay. I don't know, though, to tell you the truth.
So So here's my thing,
you don't have
CT,
to
for
act like an
example.
asshole cheering for LSU, but you could stand there and
CT,
quietly cheer
oh,
for
we're talking
LSU.
about us here. We're talking about you and I.
Drew's a lot more tame than me and you. Drew can handle himself. You go and you bet the winner, Drew. That's what you do. You go and bet the winner.
Well, hula dance maybe coming in our way. No, but I'll say this, CT, and it is guys I've grown up with, they're fun guys. But like when you're the only one going the other way, then it kind of there might be some animosity. Let's not forget it's week 1 college football. These guys are ready to rock. You know what I mean? And if you're the one guy, it can kind of throw off the whole, I don't know, the whole thing. But hey,
before I give
Drew's such a nice guy. He cares about vibes. I can care less. I'm a terrible human being. Don't invite me. Like, the other thing about me going over to the neighbors tonight, the reason why I initially said yes, because I knew I wasn't going to bet the game. Like, I would not go to their home with a Utah -5 ticket. I just wouldn't do that because I know what type of human being I am and I cannot contain it.
True, but if you had a Gator ticket, you would go, and then maybe even be like more into it.
Okay, that's fair. If I had a Gator ticket, then you're cheering with fans. But like, I remember I just saw my friend Gemma when we were in Vegas, and Gemma used to always be drunk and be like, Cal, I hate when you sports bet. It ruins your night. It ruins our day. Like if you end up losing. So it's kind of just one of those things where you might be standing there holding a losing ticket in the late 4th quarter, Drew, and you just got to be like, well, this sucks. Like,
right. And that's the worst.
There's the two sides of the coin.
That's the worst when you lose something like that. I remember Alabama played in the national championship against Clemson, and I bet on Alabama, and then watching them lose the game, which I love as an Auburn fan, I was like, man, this is terrible. I should have just never bet the game, So it's almost like betting the game can kind of be bad, but I don't know. Overall, excited to get college football going here. LSU, Florida State.
Don't just bet it because you're at the game, but if you found an edge, don't not bet it because you're with opposite fans. That's what the saying should be.
The moral of the story, sure. In Trig, lastly, I was asking for your ticket handicap on going to the game, that type of ticket, not necessarily the betting percentages, because I know you're good at it. Because my ticket handicap was the Citrus Bowl is smaller than both of their home fields. Plus, it's the singled out Sunday night game, week 1. Both fan bases are energized. So I was like, man, these ticket prices are going up. And sure enough, they were like $150. Now they're like over $300.
Oh, the ticket, the price handicap. Like we figured out that Cal should wait and buy the Big 12 title tickets like Ash is walking into the stadium or something. Yeah. I mean, I don't have much of one for this one. I don't know. It's like, because I guess it's hard to gauge that, I guess, in comparison to like a championship game. I don't know. I wish I had something better for either.
Like when I did that for Morgan Wallen, it absolutely backfired and it cost me a fortune to take Ariel to Morgan Wallen. But outside of that, like think about the hockey game we went to, Vegas, Florida, right? We bought tickets in the parking lot and we got awesome seats for like pretty cheap because it was like almost a sold out game, but people were stuck in traffic and all sorts of other things. I mean, if you think this is going to be a sold out game, Drew, that is potential, but then it's just one of you, right? Like if it's just you only need one ticket. Somebody's going to be out there selling a ticket.
Oh yeah, for sure. Singles.
Like
but
when Pam I think the playoff game in Jacksonville, she's like, I can't believe we don't have tickets. I'm like, watch this. First guy with a cell phone. I was like, you selling tickets? He's like, yeah. I was like, all right, how much? And we had great seats for $100 each.
Yeah. I don't think that will be like this, though. This will be a little bit tougher to get into, I feel. But, hey, we'll see. I'll keep you updated on Twitter at Drew Martin Bets. We got CTBet16 on Twitter, giving out a play on tonight's Florida-Utah game. Go check it out there on the X, I guess we're calling it now. But, CT, sorry for hijacking it there on Florida State LSU, man. What do you got for best bets? Final thoughts?
No problem. Final thoughts real quick. My brother's senior year at Penn State back in 2009, I went down. I was just out of college. It was Iowa versus Penn State. It was a whiteout. I went down there. I was a losing bettor back then, Drew. I was had no clue what I was doing. But I did go down there in the whiteout, walking into the game, had no clue what I was going to play. Iowa was catching like 8.5 points. I bet Iowa on the money line, in a Penn State sweatshirt in the student section. Everybody was going nuts. Iowa won the game outright, just to let you know. So do with that what you please for the game Saturday night. Drew, best bet. I am playing the UNC versus South Carolina game. Drew, the reason why I say versus, because you don't know how many people I've talked to this week that say, oh yeah, UNC at South Carolina, I like the home dog. And I've had to correct them and say, okay, well, unfortunately, South Carolina isn't home. They're being played at a neutral site, Drew, okay? And that's in Charlotte, okay? No one has a clue. So if you learn anything from this show tonight, know that UNC South Carolina is not at South Carolina Saturday night. Drew, that being said, I'm on UNC here. There's been all kinds of hype and talk about this Cox team, especially Spencer Rattler, the way they finished the season last year. Okay, they get a couple of big-time wins, and now all of a sudden South Carolina, and Shane Beamer are back to the old South Carolina ways here. I don't think that's true. I think, Drake May, a year ago, he started the season trying to earn the starting job, right, Drew, as a redshirt freshman, and ended the year as the ACC Player of the Year. So now it's a new year. He's back. He's got some nice targets here. Listen, I'm not high on either of these defenses. I think it's going to be a high-scoring game here. My play is based on Drake May and his weapons here. I think he's going to be able to carve the Cox up here. And I expect the Tar Heels to get off to a good start of the season here, and they could have something special under Coach Mac Brown. I'll take the winningest coach in college football right now, still alive, coaching, and get the cover and get the win. Play on UNC -2.5. My best bet.
Is he really the most winningest coach?
Active.
That's active, yes. Because he's like 100 years old. I actually thought he retired for a minute because I was listening to something in the background, but they were talking about the new offensive coordinator at North Carolina. But I was like, what? I was like, how did I miss that Mac Brown? Never mind. It was almost the same way I almost missed that the game was on a neutral field. My brain is broken from Vegas. That's the moral of the story. I'm never going to recover.
Hey, I wasn't calling you out or anything.
I'm 70.
There's been numerous people that have told me that. So people, this is week 1, Drew. You got to be dialed in here, laser focused.
We got to get ready for it, guys. Thursday night, the hustle. Thanks for joining us, CT. One thing I'll add to that, Gene Chisnick, their defensive coordinator, one of the more underrated defensive coordinators, in my opinion. Agreed. When he was at Auburn, they had a great defense. Texas won the national championship when it was Gene Chisnick as the DC and
Matt Brown is that.
Yeah, so some pedigree there. So. Vince Young running around. Maybe they could do it again. Who knows? Tar Heels, guys. But, hey, anything else before we shut this down?
Well, Drew Martin bets. I still have to do a best bet. I will do it in – Kelly's going to put the timer up real quick. I took South Alabama +6.5. It's one of Kelly's plays in her parlay. I stared at it for 3 weeks. I should have bet this 3 weeks ago at 7, but I decided that I couldn't. I was going to have too much betting FOMO here, Drew, because I just couldn't not be on it, even at 6.5. I justified that by saying it's probably going to go to 6. I do think it ends up at 6 at some point. I think South Alabama can win this game. A lot of guys returning on both sides of the ball for this team. I think it's 9 on offense and 9 on defense. Very, very senior-laden veteran team that was great last year and now has everyone back. Great name here. Major Applewhite, the offensive coordinator. I remember being in my backyard as like a 9th grader, pretending I was him, playing him on the college football video games when they used to have him on PS2. Hopefully he gets the offense going. He almost beat UCLA last year. So this is just a team that can play. I think they're going to be one of the better group of 5 teams in the country. On the other side of the ball, Tulane, they had their year last year, beat K-State, beat USC in the bowl game. One of the biggest overachievers, and now they come in as a ranked team, and they've got Ole Miss next week at home, biggest look-ahead spot. You're probably going to find on the whole sort of slate this week. So, Tulane, they bring back Pratt at quarterback, but they lose quite a few of their skill players. I just don't see there being any way Tulane doesn't take a little step back this year. It would be really, really tough for them to replicate what they did last year with who they've lost. South Alabama, I think they're going to be pretty good. I think they definitely can win this game. If not, maybe we'll stay within the number. But I was going to just really kick myself if I left this one off and it covered. So late add to my week 1 card. South Alabama plus 6.5, 4%. And I also, Miami of Ohio, I gave out a couple weeks ago, plus 17.5, another 4%. So 2 free client plays, 2 best bets right there for me.
Trig, don't forget, 9 guys from Tulane are now in the NFL. I know Willie Fritz is a good
I wrote
coach,
down
right?
Tulane's top 5 tackler, like leading tackles or tackles on defense, whatever you want to say that, are gone.
South Alabama returns 18 guys. 16 of them have been there for 6 years because of COVID year. Whoa. I got that one from Marco D'Angelo yesterday. So shout out Marco. I think they win this game. Listen, I know that we've talked about whether there's look ahead spots, whether they're true, whether they're not, right? Like posting some stuff on the Wager Talk Instagram story. I understand that some of these teams aren't actually already looking ahead. Maybe Texas Tech isn't already looking ahead to Oregon next week, but I still like Wyoming. That's not the only reason why we're playing it. It just happens to be a talking point that fills in that, because I do think Tulane is really feeling themselves after last year. They beat USC in the Cotton Bowl. You know that's kind of set the precedence for this season. And they're South Alabama to them, sure, whatever. But I guarantee their eyes are on Ole Miss and Lane Kiffin.
Kelly, the other thing is too, like Texas Tech, Oregon, teams like that, like they're accustomed to playing these big games. So it's like I would be less, I mean, they're big games to look ahead to, but these are Power 5 schools that play.
Schools, so they're used to that. Yeah.
How often is Tulane ranked getting another ranked team at home? That is a true look ahead spot, in my opinion. Like that's like you've been waiting all summer to play Ole Miss at home. You're ranked, they're ranked. Like that's a really big deal, in my opinion. More so than what was the one we talked about? Miami's got Texas A&M coming up, or Texas Tech's got a big game the following week. Like those teams play big games all the time.
They played each other last year.
Right.
I would agree.
Right.
There is an angle to it, though. Like South Alabama, USA, and Tulane, they're not far from each other. Mobile and New Orleans, like kind of like the Mardi Gras Bowl. It actually will be a great atmosphere in the Big Easy. A lot of the kids probably know each other, that kind of stuff, like played against each other in high school. But just wanted to add that in. Like ticket handicap might be high to get in this one, Trig.
You think so? $55? Should we log into TickPick and see what they've got?
How big? I don't know how big. I was at Tulane's campus last year, went to a basketball game, although it's kind of in the city. And how big is Yeoman? Is Yeoman Stadium smaller? Because if the stadium's smaller, like Ole Miss is a small stadium. That's a hard place to get in for a football game because Vaught Hemingway is only like 40-something thousand people. I mean, it probably depends on the size of the stadium a lot of times, how tough it's going to be to get a ticket.
And so many people like to hang out in the Grove and just watch it on TV for Ole Miss at home. But all right, guys, that does it. Unless anybody else wants to throw out anything else here.
Wrap it up.
All right, guys, that does it. Check out VivaTequilaSeltzer.com. Viva Tequila Seltzer, refreshing and drinkable hard seltzer, 88 calories, 0 carbs, 0 sugar, 4.5% ABV. Check out the free picks page on wagertalk.com. Go get yourself some good picks here for this weekend. Best free live odds in the industry. Kelly Stewart, Adam Trigger, Chris Thurston. I am Drew Martin. That does it for week 1. We'll be back next week. College football, NFL coming your way. Thanks for tuning in. Cash those tickets.